Thank you for tuning in with us every Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. About our host, Carlotta Taylor is not just a survivor of child abuse, but has grown into what we come to know as our personal thriver against all odds, who no longer flinches at adversity, but overcomes with authority. Carlotta decided to find the courage to say yes to herself. Miss Taylor has piece by piece faced her biggest adversary, the brokenness, and healed not only herself, but has also affected thousands through her outreach and influence. Carlotta Taylor is the author of the best-selling book, No More Flinching. Getting to the heart of the matter has always been what Carlotta is about. To keep in touch, text Carlotta to 888-111. It's time for the show to begin. It wouldn't be the same without you, because this is the place people bond worldwide, sharing powerful stories, prevailing over adversity. The heart of the matter is the people's joy. Now, turn your attention to our host, Carlotta Taylor, as the show begins.
Have you ever had it all and lost it all in the same year? How did COVID really affect you or your loved ones or your friends? Someone lost it all, but by the grace of God, they gained it right back. They did not fall for good. They were able to bounce back, and she's going to show you how she was able to do that. Joining us today is Melissa Banks from Jackson, Mississippi. How are you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing wonderful, Carlotta. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, I'm so grateful that you are here. And oh my goodness, we have some amazing things to unpack tonight. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. What does getting to the heart of the matter mean to you?
For me, getting to the heart of the matter means looking within yourself, believing in yourself, accepting who you are and that you are good enough for whatever you face. And once we're able to do that, once we're able to see ourselves for being good enough, believing in ourselves, then we can push through whatever challenges, whatever we come face with, because we are in control. And once we realize we're in control, that's what it takes.
All right. I love that power statement. She was ready for that. And she just got the question, you all. She did not pre-prepare. All right. I love it. That's what it takes. It's getting to the heart of the matter, getting to the core. Yes, ma'am. Well, one thing we all know is that childhood is very essential. And although we grow up to be adults and, we say we're grown and we have our own lives, but childhood development is so essential. It's a direct connection with adulthood. Some had it good, some had it easy, some had it hard. But today we're going to learn how Melissa Banks had it. So Melissa, tell us, how was life for you in your childhood?
Wow, that's a great question, and one that I don't get asked often. I grew up in inner city Jackson. My mom was a single parent, a whole lot. We didn't know we didn't have a whole lot because she was so good at making us feel that we had everything we needed. We were always clean, and she showed so much love that we didn't realize what we didn't have. But we didn't have a lot, but we had what we needed. And she did what she needed to do to bring us up to be very strong women. And I often look back at that time and some of the things that were going on that we didn't know were problems until later on. We thought that was how life was supposed to be. So I grew up in the neighborhood where everybody knew everybody. You walked everywhere you went because we didn't have cars, but mama lived down the street, and we even walked to the church, but it wasn't much further than that. That was how I grew up. We didn't grow up seeing people in business or anything like that. We just saw very hardworking, middle class, lower than middle class people, but living life and living it abundantly in their own eyes. Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, that sounds like a loving household. That sounds like, maybe not a business mind, but we did the best we could. And thank God for grandmama. I know I had some grandmamas and some great grandmamas. We used to call her Big Mama. Yes. And boy, did she take care of everything. And boy, could she cook. Lord have mercy. Yes, that food used to be real good. Well, all right. So great childhood, not too techie, not too businessy, but good, wholesome family. And that's amazing. Everybody can't say that, but let's roll out the next few years of your life. Let's take us through high school. And if you went to college or those college years where you would have been in college, tell us how did that roll out for you?
Well, my mom worked really, really hard. She took care of other people's homes. That's what she did. That's what she raised us up on and showed us a lot of love. And we went to high school. We went to a church, neighborhood church, actually. That is where I met my soon-to-be husband at the neighborhood church while I was still in high school. I was only 14 years old when I met him. And he came from a home that, sometimes we look at what other people have and we think, wow, that's the life, right? He had
Yes,
both
yes.
parents there. They had cars. They had nice homes. They had everything in our eyes because we were living the way that we were living. So I thought he was wonderful and perfect. So I met him when I was 14 years old. So I was still
Wow.
in high school, right? I was still in high
14?
school, 14. I was 14 years
Wow.
old when I met him. And he was the love of my life, so I thought. I mean, we decided to graduate from high school early and get married at 17 with the permission of our parents. We were so young that both of our parents had to go with us to sign to give permission for us to get married.
I know what that's like. I had to do something like that around 19. So I feel you on that. For you all that's tuning in, whether you're tuning in from Facebook or YouTube, please let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments. And we are getting to the heart of the matter with Melissa Banks. So tell us how that rolled out. You met at 14, got married early. What happened next?
Well, very soon after we got married, within 6 months of being married, was the first episode of domestic violence. Of course, I didn't call it that at that time. I knew it wasn't right. I knew that episode that night should never happen again, and I believed that it wouldn't happen again. But that night changed the rest of my life forever because that was a pivotal point at that particular time, and the rest of my life was a trajectory of what happened that night.
Wow. Wow. So that one night changed everything.
Absolutely. I believe that we can go through something that seems very small and then it changes your thought processes for the rest of your life. So that particular night, that very first episode, in my eyes, that wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't that, it wasn't a punch in the face or anything like that. It was just a hit on the arm. He felt sorry. He was sorry it happened, right? So at that moment, it didn't seem as it was a big part of my life. But when you look back at the steps that happened from that moment as we grew, remember, we were a young couple. We were 17. I was 17 years old. He was 19 years old. So that night, though it became a huge night, it didn't feel like it at that moment because I couldn't see past that. You can only see what you can see in front of you.
Right. So that's that young love. We just met. We met at 14. It was an incident, but it didn't appear to look that serious. You didn't know that was a big, major red flag.
Absolutely.
Okay. So as time goes on, you didn't think it was that big of a deal, the first incident. But how did things progress over time, the next few years?
We were married for 17 years.
Wow.
The abuse started at 6 months. Remember, I just said the first night was 6 months. And it got worse as time went on. We had 2 children during that time. The abuse just got worse. It kept growing. But each time he was sorry. But now, as an adult with small children, I was looking at it differently. I was more afraid. The abuse was more drastic. It lasted longer. It became the lifestyle rather than every now and then. It was the way of life. And then other things came in. His behavior got worse. We started losing things. So it just grew from that one night to a big snowball in my life. And his language changed as well. So instead of crying and sorry when it happened, it was, you deserved it. And without me, you can't go anywhere. You'll never be anything. I'll always be in your head. So that's why language is so important, Carlotta, because you believe what you hear. So that was embedded in my spirit and in my mind that he had control over me. And I can remember him saying exactly those words is I can, as long as I have your mind, I can control you. And those are words that have been embedded in me since that time. But you know what? Those words were true words because he did have control over me. Every time I got to a point that it was time to get out, he would say something, he would do something. Then I became more afraid of leaving than staying. And once he had me in that place, it just went on and on and on for the next 17 years before I finally got my children and got away from it and was able to stay away from it at that point.
Wow, Melissa, I'm so glad that you were able to get away because so many people have lost their lives due to domestic violence. And it's amazing how he started out with the I'm sorry and apologizing, but he was really just reeling you in. He knew what kind of person he was, and the red flags were there. But I'm so grateful that you are sharing your story today while we're getting to the heart of the matter of the issue, because somebody needs to hear this. It is not okay. It is not okay to receive this type of treatment. And it's more than just physical, way more than just physical. And so when you were able to get out of it, was it like a life or death situation where you finally got out, or you just woke up one day and said, that's enough?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't know that I ever would have gotten to the point that in my own mind, when I got to the point of needing to leave and knowing I had to leave, it was no longer a choice. It's because I became afraid for not only myself and for my children. And even then, I needed something to push me out of there. And you'll hear me sharing my story that every pivotal moment in my life, something happened that pushed me to the next step. And in that case, he came into the house one night when we were separated. He jumped into the house and tried to kill me. He held a knife to my throat, and my young child saved me that night. And when that was the night that I knew in my gut, and I don't even think I've said that publicly before, but that was the night that I knew in my gut that we were going to die, or I needed to get out, and I needed to stay out forever.
Well,
And that was the night that I left.
That is so serious. Wow. It could be a number of things. That incident, it happened for a reason. But I'm so grateful God got your attention, because, see, God knew that you weren't going to leave just on your own. And you were loyal, so loyal. All of those years, a big chunk of your life dedicated and devoted to someone who was mistreating you. But I'm so grateful that you woke up and that you protected your children like a good mother would. Mm-hmm. And shout out to that baby that made sure nothing happened to his mother. Was it, I don't know if it was a son or a daughter.
It was my son, my youngest son, in fact. We had a plan, Carlotta. The older, if anything ever happened, the older child was supposed to get out of the house and run, go get help. See, that was a time that we didn't all have cell phones. So he couldn't just run, grab the cell phone and run and call for help. He had to go down the street to the corner store to call 911. While he was down there, and my husband, who was now the perpetrator in the house, just me and my young son was in the house. And when my young son jumped in between us, with him with that knife in his hand and me up against the refrigerator in the kitchen, and my young son jumped in between us and asked him to stop. And when he did that, it was like something clicked. He threw the knife down and he ran away. By that time, the police had arrived because the other son had went gotten him.
Wow, what a brave young man. How old was he at the time?
He was 5, I think. They were very young. They were very young when that happened.
Wow. My heart goes out to you, Melissa. You are a trooper. You are a survivor. I'm so grateful that you are sharing your story. For those of you who are tuning in, be sure to share this message. Be sure to share. If you're listening on Facebook, hit that share button. If you're listening on YouTube or any other platform, be sure to share. Someone needs to hear Melissa Banks' story. Trust me, somebody needs to hear her story, because you never know who is going through the same thing or maybe even worse. Now, I understand that you was able to get out of that situation, and I'm so grateful that you were. Was there a period of healing that had to take place for you did you ever find dating again easy, or is that something you just closed the door to? Like how were you able to move forward after the situation?
Well, immediately after the situation, my children and we went through such mental abuse. And it was, the physical abuse was bad enough, but to me, the mental abuse, and I still believe that today, that mentally is so hard. It's harder to get through that abuse than it is the physical sometimes. And for me, that's what we had to deal with initially. So we got some help. All three of us went for some help. And I believe in getting the help that you need. And that helped set us on track to move life forward. Did life become really easy after that point? No, of course not. I was raising two small children. I was on my own. I had a lot of healing to do in my mind, believing in myself and pushing forward. And I'm not so sure that's what I was doing at that time. I think I was really thinking about, how do I learn how to live? You see, I didn't know what I'd like to eat. I didn't know what I'd like to watch on TV, because those were not options that I had made for the last 17 years. So I basically had to learn how to be an adult on my own, making my own choices. And we were able to do that. We were able to maneuver our lives, the ups and downs and the obstacles that we faced. We were able to move them, just me and my boys. Over time, it became easier. And even now, I still have challenges in that area of dating, but it became easier over time as I moved forward, as they got to be adults. But I raised my children on my own, basically, as I was learning how to be an adult and independent myself. I was fortunate enough, though, to land a job at a telecommunications company, which was the best job I had ever had at that time. So it was very helpful in the process once I was able to land that job and be there for a long time, actually.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Did you have a support group? Because I understand a lot of times when people are in domestic violence situations, a lot of times they don't really have anyone outside of themselves or their children that can really be there for them. Do you remember or recall having a support group?
Oh, absolutely. My family didn't know about the abuse until it was time to leave the abuse. And, we hide it from most people. But I was also part of another organization that the women there supported each other. We met up once a week, and it helped me understand some of what I was going through, but it also gave me the strength and the courage to be able to push through it. But I still lean on my family. My mom and my sisters are so amazing, and they were my support system. In fact, that night that I just mentioned, when I left there, I went to my sister's house. They were there for me during that process as we were growing through it and getting back on track. Now, during that time, my mother she would get the boys and help me as I was learning how, because I left without anything. I didn't have a car. I had to find somewhere to stay. So I left without any of that. So my family definitely jumped in there and helped me get back on my feet and get started.
What an amazing family. I'm so glad they were there for you. And it's so good to have that support. Sometimes people's family, they get tired of like, here we go again. It's another incident, and they'll just like not take it seriously. So I just want to insert and let people know, always take it seriously, especially when it comes to your family and your friends, because you never know when that time might be that time that somebody's life is on the line. And I'm so grateful you're sharing your story today. Let's switch gears a little bit, because I understand that, we're not here to just talk about domestic violence and being a survivor of domestic violence, which you are. But something else hit you in the year of 2020, and it's due to the pandemic. One moment.
Absolutely. Well, when I talked a little bit just then about my position at the telecommunications company. I was there for over 10 years. And then one day I went in and my position was eliminated, along with about 3,000 other people laid off that one day. I was raising my two small children. Life was finally back on track. And here I am with no job. I walked out of there and sat in my car in tears, not knowing what to do. And then God literally spoke to me in my spirit. I'm not saying I heard voices, but I heard him speak to my spirit that I would own my own business. Well, I've never thought about owning a business. Where I grew up, Black people didn't own businesses. So that was really foreign to me, but it gave me a peace. And that was over 20 years ago when I started my business. But that incident pushed me into entrepreneurship. because that's what I did when I pulled off that parking lot that day. I started looking into owning my own business.
Yes.
I've been building my business over 20 years, and then the ups and the downs, and then 2020 came, and it was the year that I have been working hard for. It started out with the bang. I was the visionary and co-founder of Black Women's Business Expo. It was an amazing kickoff to the year. That happened in January, and the year was set. Those events I've been wanting to get at the levels I've been wanting to do them, and I believe totally booked year. And then March of 2020 hit, and COVID-19. In fact, 1 year ago today was when it hit. And within 2 weeks, my entirely booked up year went to 0 events. And I know that a lot of people in this industry got rescheduled, got to move forward. No, it went away. Every single event on my calendar went away. And it didn't take a really long time. Within a couple of weeks, my calendar was now empty.
So that is a lot. I do recall I had some very amazing powerhouse speaking opportunities booked. Very good paying speaking opportunities booked. And I was looking forward to that. As a matter of fact, I was putting my all into those speaking opportunities. And yeah, when COVID hit, it was kind of like in the wind. And so you went from a packed calendar for the year to everything just canceling out. How did you bounce back from that?
Well, I didn't know what to do. I was very afraid because I needed the income, of course, just like everybody else. And I thought the event industry was gone. So I thought, what am I going to do? I've spent the last 20 years building an event planning company. And what am I going to do? And I talk about the power of yes, because what changed everything for me in the middle of it broke. I got an email from Event Planners Association saying that they had a challenge, a 5-day challenge. And in this challenge, you got to work directly with David Tutera. I said yes to that at 11:30 at night, sitting on the side of my bed with very little money in my account. I took a part of that and signed up for that challenge. The power of the yes. And sometimes that one yes you need to make changes the rest of the year, because I needed to be obedient that night. I knew in my spirit I did. And once I did and showed up for that challenge, and that's why every opportunity you have, you play full out, because that 5 days of that challenge, I gave it everything I had to give it. But in my mind, I thought, what do I have to lose? I have no events. So why don't I just give it everything I've got? But because I did that, I stood out in that challenge.
Come on
and
now.
I got noticed. So you have to bring your all every time, because you don't know who's going to be there. You don't know who's listening. And because I believe in the power of the mind, once I set my sights in there and I decided, you know what, I'm giving it my all. But David Tutera noticed me. He heard me. And I got a phone call from him offering me the scholarship to be mentored by him for the next 12 months.
Wow.
That is no joke. And that is exactly how it happened. He had never given a scholarship before. I was the first one that he ever gave. And it was because I was playing full out. So often we dim ourselves. We show up in a group and we don't let them see us all. That happened because I showed up, and I showed up as me, believing in me and knowing I had to have something change. That yes changed the rest of the year.
Melissa Banks, I firmly believe that is a true example of someone going through the storm. You're going through and everything looks dark and gloomy, and you're like, Lord have mercy. You get rejected. That's a form of rejection, having booked, and then now it's that. You mean to tell me I can't even get rescheduled through we can't do this virtually? You mean it just got to be gone? When you say it twice, it gets real.
Yes, right.
However, you reached beyond the breaking points of life, and God allowed you and blessed you with something that humongous. How did that impact your life, receiving that scholarship?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I was so stunned that they were even given a scholarship. and that I was chosen for that scholarship. I never dreamed that would happen. I never thought about that happening. But what I did know is that I'm not quitting. So that means my life has to be different. What does it have to do? So when I showed up ready to get it. That 5 days changed my mindset. My business is not over. It's going to look different. It has to look different, but it's not over. This is my chance to move forward. And once I started that process, and somebody said to me, you know what? You create your life. You create the dream. You design it
Yes.
yourself. And when I started hearing that and believing it in here, things
Yes.
began to happen. So it started with that yes, that changed my mindset. And the rest of the year developed. I learned how to do virtual events, which I never even considered doing virtual events and planning virtual events. But you know what? It was one of the most successful things we did last year was this
Yes.
virtual event. Absolutely. I even created an event planning online program. I would have never, ever thought I could do anything like that. That came from that yes, the power of saying yes and believing
Wow.
in yourself and moving forward. It changed everything for the rest of the year. So many different opportunities that I never thought I would be able to do or anybody would look to me to do came because of that yes. Other opportunities came, hosting a talk show. I never dreamed that anything like that would happen for me. That
Wow.
happened because I co-hosted on another show. And when that co-host opportunity was over, he asked me, how would you like to have your own talk show? I never thought about doing that. I grew up in a small town. Like I said, we didn't dream of owning our own businesses. We definitely didn't dream of talking to people and interviewing people on the radio. And then, just this opportunity tonight, and you've been on my show. It has been 2020 went from being the very worst year of my life to the
Wow.
most amazing year of my life. I am in a
Wow.
totally different place in my mind. And when you change your mind, you change your mindset, that changes your life.
Wow. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Champion, champion. Last one standing, you a champion. Champion, champion. Anybody winning, you a champion. Champion, champion. Everybody winning, you a champion. 24/7, nothing in between. All of this golden and turn me a king. Turn me a king. To be the greatest, you gotta compete. Hot like the sun, I'm bringing the heat. One verse when it can't stop. I was made to win, it was made as a copy. It's obvious, I bodied this. So if we top 10, I'ma top the list. Gotta do it for your team, put the city on the map. Never argue back, tell them look at the stats. No matter where you at, leave it all on the track. Cause winners gon' win and the losers gon' chat. Yeah, you can tell by my step on the field, I'm a champion.
I'm Marshall Thompson, the Unknown Warrior, WKA MMA National Champion. If you want to be the best, come train with the best.
Fans telling you a champion.
All right. If you're tuning in from Facebook or YouTube, please let us know where you are tuning in from. We would love to hear from you. Be sure to share these messages while they're live. Catch the real play and don't just wait on the replay. We'll get into the heart of the matter with Melissa Banks from Jackson, Mississippi. And she is talking about overcoming domestic violence. She's talking about overcoming having it all one moment in 2020 and losing it due to the epidemic. So if you want to know how she bounced back, be sure to tap in and somebody else needs to hear these stories because it's so powerful. So we are talking about how you bounce back. You got a scholarship was never awarded before. God had just shown you that he is rewarding you for your faithfulness and you stayed the course. Now let's take a turn and talk about all of the things in detail that you offer and services that you can provide for people and how you can help them.
Oh, absolutely. At the core, I am passionate about event planning and creating memorable moments, not just an event. I think whether your event is small or large, it's about the experiences that you create there. And I've spent the last 20 years learning how to do that. And that is my specialty. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm continuing to build my event planning business, even through the process that we had to go through. And another thing that's about to happen in our business is we will be the event managers for 5-Star Lodge event venue located in Brandon, Mississippi. So get ready for some huge announcements about that and grand openings. That is a huge opportunity.
Huge.
Yeah, it is
Yes.
huge. I'll tell you, when you allow God to just move in your life, He puts things in place that you never saw coming. And I've heard this before, but I've experienced it personally, that suddenly something you've been dreaming about will happen. And that is one of those things that I've been dreaming about for a very long time, putting on the vision board every year. Finally, didn't even do a vision board for 2021, and the opportunity came to my door. I am ecstatic about that and can't wait to share that venue with all of you. But that's our heart, and that's where what we do best is event planning. But other opportunities we have is our talk show. We have a talk show called Dream by Design, and it's for women entrepreneurs to share their story, how they push through circumstances, push through things that pushed them up and then tore them down, but they kept moving. And because they kept moving, they were able to create the life that they wanted to deserve. I believe that women can inspire women when we give them the opportunity to do that. And that's what our talk show is all about. It is inspiring women to be the best version of themselves that they can.
Yes.
Super excited about the opportunity.
Melissa, I have a question about your event planning business.
Okay.
Do you do anything online with the event planning business?
Oh, absolutely. Events online. We have done dinner parties virtually. We just recently did a birthday party, which was an amazing celebration. In the building, we created the experience. You didn't miss out on anything. She had all the beautiful decor, the gorgeous food, gifts, and she had entertainment. That was in the room. All of the guests was virtual. They had a blast. We gave gifts to the virtual guests as well as to the entertainers that was in the room. They got to get food. We've had events that we had food shipped to the guests while the event was going on so everybody can share a cocktail or a snack together. There are so many things you can do virtually. You can create amazing experiences virtually. It's not just about jumping on a Zoom call. It's about the experience, and you can create that virtually. And we've gotten really good at that over the last year.
I love it. I'm going to have to give you a call behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to.
Most definitely. So is there anything else? You have the event planning, you have the talk show. And by the way, how can they reach out to you if they want to get on the talk show?
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to have you on the talk show. Just drop us an email to dreambydesignwithmelissabanks.com, or you can go to the Facebook page and send us an inbox message, and we will send you all the information you need to be on the show. Currently, we have a special going on the show that in connection to your interview on the show, you will even be spotlighted in Conversations Media Magazine, and they have over 17,000 subscribers per month. Great exposure. Can help so many women with your story, with that type of exposure. So reach out to us on that.
I asked that question. Y'all should be sharing this. I know y'all got some friends out there that need to be spotlighted, and maybe you yourself need to be spotlighted. That is amazing. Wow.
Absolutely. Share your story. Sharing your story helps somebody. And I had to learn that and not keep it in for so many years. I've kept it in and didn't talk about it. But when you share your story, it helps somebody that hears what you said and what you pushed through, and it encourages them to be able to push through as well.
Wow, that is so amazing, Melissa. So is there anything else on your heart while we're getting to the heart of the matter with your story, Melissa Banks? Is there anything else, any other adversities that we have not covered? I know we talked about domestic violence. We talked about COVID. We talked about, how God has blessed you to, you lost it all, but then you gained it all right back. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about or go into where it comes to overcoming adversity?
No, what I would say to anybody that's listening right now is, regardless of what you're going through, regardless of, in my case, it was domestic violence for so many years. Then it was losing my job and being pushed into an environment that was new for me. It was about learning how to be a single parent without even knowing how to do that for myself. It was about pushing through all of those things. It was about pushing through some physical stuff that I have to deal with, but I have to keep pushing even while I'm not feeling well. It's about pushing through all of that and believing that you can, because if you keep moving through it, see, that is the key. It's not to get stuck in what you're facing, not to sit there and stew in it and not move. But if you get up, and you move and you keep moving. That's what made the difference. What made the difference is I was down and I didn't feel good about it. Most people didn't know that. And probably a lot of people won't know that until they hear this story tonight. But I was so down, and every day it was something coming. And I just kept moving. I just kept moving. And because I kept moving through it into the next blessing, to the next blessing. You have to me, once you start moving and trusting God to have the full plan, because we don't have the full plan, and realizing everything that you need will be there for you as long as you keep going and believing and doing your part. And that's what I would want anybody to walk away from this interview tonight thinking, this girl didn't do it on her own. She didn't have it easy. She had it really hard, but she kept believing in herself, even when she couldn't do anything but pray and cry at night, because I couldn't let that be seen during the day. You know how we are. You got to show up like a powerhouse during the day, even if things are not going well at night, until they are.
Wow.
That once they are, you can push through it. And that's what I want people to take away from here tonight. No matter what it is that you're going through and how big it feels today. It could feel really huge today, but if you don't stop, if you don't give up, if you keep pushing forward and surrounding yourself with people who push you forward, surround yourself with people who can motivate, inspire, and encourage you to keep going. Surround yourself with people who are where you are trying to get, and you keep going, and you will get there.
Wow. It's nothing like having a heavy load and then God just removing that heavy load. And it's like, finally, I am so happy you got your deliverance and you stayed the course. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. And the sun came out on the other side of that storm, huge and bright. And you are not only saying, hey, I went through this and I overcame it, but you are adding value to others with your talk show. You're serving others with your event planning. And then you even have a special going on. So I hope y'all catching this special, because look, I'm going to call Melissa after the show. And I just remember meeting you, Melissa, at the Kings. They had an event maybe a few years ago. And I was just, first of all, I was blown away by how gorgeous you were. And when you said your age, I was like, no. And you are so foxy. Oh my gosh, y'all, check Melissa Banks out. You got to follow her. She can dress. You are always so poised and beautiful, but you speak from the heart. And that's what I really admire most about you. And I cannot wait to support you in business even more so than just having you on the show. But I'm so grateful for you to be a guest. So if you have anything that's left on your heart, please share with us now with the viewers, wherever you're tuning in from. Let us know if you're tuning in from YouTube or Facebook or some other place. And be sure to let the followers know, Melissa, where they can contact you and follow you on the other social media platforms.
Okay, wonderful. My last 2 cents, I would say, is believe in yourself. There's power in the yes. So that thing that you've not been saying yes to, but it keeps showing up, you might just need to say yes. That one yes can change the rest of your life and everything that you face from that point. Believe in yourself enough to say yes. You can reach me on my website if you're interested in some event planning. I would love to help create a memorable experience for you. You can follow our website is dmdeventplanninganddesign.com. You can also reach us on Instagram at DMD Event Planning and on Facebook at DMD Event Planning.
You said dmdeventplanning.com?
That's the website.
Okay.
And on Instagram is DMD Event Planning and Design. And on Facebook is DMD Event Planning. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my story and to encourage everyone who's listening. This has been such an honor. You're such an amazing host. You make me feel so comfortable. I love you to death. Love your energy. Oh my gosh.
Okay, now what you want from me, Melissa? What you want from me? Thank you so much. It's just been amazing to have you. Like, you are a fighter. You are a survivor. And you thrive. You didn't come on here with a sob story. You said, hey, this is my low. But guess what? I went lower and I overcame it. And now look at what God blessed me with. I love the fact you're so humble and you do it with poise. And you're so beautiful, like kind of very queenish, so it makes sense that you are in the event planning industry. I know if you love to dress yourself up, I know you can really do some things with event planning. So I'm going to be looking into doing some business with you, hopefully soon here. So I hope you all are taking notes. All right.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa Banks, for coming on the show and gracing the Heart of the Matter stage. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You as well.
Yes, ma'am. Wow, what an amazing story. So if you did not catch the real play of Melissa Banks' story, you need to catch the replay. Be sure to share this live wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Apple TV, Roku, whatever the case. And know that we will also, it's like a HD type of thing on E360 TV. You can go to e360tv.com and you will be able to watch the show with Melissa Banks as well. All right. So thank you for tuning in. And I want to give a special thanks to Martial Arts and Academy for sponsoring today's show of The Heart of the Matter. Stay tuned to learn how you can be a sponsor on the show and how you can be a guest on this show. Have a great Thursday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to The Heart of the Matter. If you would like to sponsor an episode or be a guest on the show, email theheartofthemattershow@gmail.com. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday for another amazing episode.